In September of 2018, Nikki Enriquez, a 28-year-old transgender sex worker, was picked up by a U.S. Border Patrol agent in Texas. In this man's sick attempt to clean up the streets of Laredo, he drove Nikki down the I-35, took her out of the vehicle, shot her in the head, and left her for dead. Nikki was only one of his 4 victims, all of whom were sex workers. Today, I am here to explain to all of you why prostitution, or sex work, needs to be legalized all across America, due to the dangers these women face, due to government intervention, and why the ability to buy and sell sex should be considered a legal right. So being a sex worker is the most dangerous job in the world, and according to a descriptive study on prostitute homicide published by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, prostitutes are 60 to 100 times more likely to be murdered than other women. Now this is an insanely high number, but it makes sense since the legalization makes them very easy targets. And even though criminalization cuts down on the demand, it increases the number of people seeking out prostitutes for all of the wrong reasons. Criminals and people with bad intentions will never go away, but the legalization of this non-violent crime will help these people be caught and reprimanded, since now women will feel safe coming forward with reports of violence. So sex workers are extremely easy targets for rape, abuse, and sex trafficking due to their lack of government protection and how they are forced to pursue this career in the shadows. And since prostitution in America is for the most part done legally, the United States Department of Justice has declared that over 50% of all prostitutes in America are forced to put their lives in the hands of a pimp. Relying on a pimp puts women in an extremely vulnerable position with no power to say no, and often makes it very difficult for them to leave the industry. Dr. Lois Lee, the world's leading expert on rescuing child victims of sex trafficking, even states that the pimp-prostitute relationship usually ends because, quote, the prostitute becomes pregnant, goes on welfare, turns to more serious kind of crime, commits suicide, or dies at the hands of a customer, end quote. We can no longer allow violent men to rule the lives of vulnerable women. These women are stripped of their power, forced to go to unidentified locations with strangers, and are still not given the support they need when these situations take a wrong turn. Instead of giving them the resources they need to stay safe, we are giving them jail time. With the legal brothel system all throughout America, we will help end acts of violence against women and help put law enforcement focus back on issues of actual importance. So the government should not have any say in our sex lives. Gay, straight, paid, whatever it is, as long as it is safe and consensual, it should be accepted. Prostitution is a victimless crime, and it is done out of their own free will. And as a society that thrives on freedom, we are obligated to uphold that right. So the prostitution industry is a roughly $14 billion annual industry with around 1 million sex workers working in the US today. And in 2017, the FBI reported arresting over 28,000 prostitutes. Strangely, over 10,000 more prostitutes were arrested that year than rapists, even though there were well over 100,000 reported cases of rape in 2017 alone. This goes to show just how twisted our government's view on sex is, since more priority seems to be placed in stopping inappropriate consensual sex rather than violent, non-consensual sexual assaults. Now, the only place in America where prostitution is limitedly legal is Nevada, and only in regulated brothels in counties containing less than 700,000 residents. These brothels are extremely safe and professional, often with a doctor's office on site, which provide the women with the necessary resources they need to undergo weekly STD and HIV testing, as is required by Nevada state law. Aside from this weekly testing, the women are also required to use condoms and dental guards with every client that they see. And since the legalization, there have been absolutely no reported contracted cases of HIV and only very minor reported contracted cases of STDs. And according to the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, porn stars in LA actually have significantly higher STD rates than all of the legal prostitutes in Nevada. Now, Nevada is not the only place in the world to legalize prostitution, though. According to the CIA's World Factbook of 2017, 53% of countries around the world have fully legalized prostitution, with 12% limited legal and 35% illegal. Progressive countries, including New Zealand, Germany, and the Netherlands, have all fully legalized prostitution, and these women are now all independent, tax-paying citizens helping to contribute to a better society. So if we really think about it though, prostitution is already legal in the United States today, except on a much larger scale. According to an article by the New York Times entitled Pornography in the US, A Big Business, pornography is around a $2 billion annual industry, and it requires people to perform sexual acts on camera for money. Just in this case, the entire nation can access it within seconds. And why is it that we can pay 2 or more people to have sex in front of a camera for the entire world to see, but we can't pay just one woman for a safe, consensual, sexual interaction off camera and behind closed doors? Strip clubs are legal, sex shows are legal, and sexually explicit magazines can be found and purchased almost anywhere. Yet these same sexual acts advertised cannot be purchased in real life because they are seen as immoral, with no place in society. The trading of sexual images and videos for money and gifts has also become extremely normalized on social media today. Sites like OnlyFans allow people to pay models and influencers a fee to see explicit content. This is then regularly advertised on other popular apps such as Instagram and Snapchat. Similarly, sugar daddies are easily attainable through sites such as seekingarrangement.com, which describe sugar babies as being able to, quote, enjoy a life of luxury by being pampered with fine dinners, exotic trips, and allowances, end quote. This goes to show that the illegalization of prostitution in the traditional sense is largely based on negative societal connotation, since it is already legal in so many other forms today. So sex is not a crime. Intimacy and pleasure are a natural and healthy human need and desire, and as long as it is safe and consensual for all parties involved, it should be accepted. It is not okay to suppress natural human rights and desires, and especially in this sense, making it criminal does not solve the problem. It worsens it, and it causes necessary resources to be cut off from those who need them so desperately. If you do not agree with prostitution, then do not pay or become one. But prostitution is a victimless crime, and it is done out of their own free will. And as a society built on freedom, we have an obligation to uphold that right. So the legalization of prostitution is largely due to prostitutes being looked down upon in society. They are stereotyped as dirty, immoral, disease-ridden, untrustworthy drug addicts. Yet at the end of the day, they are normal people just like you and me trying to make a living and should be given the exact same protection and respect as the rest of society. Now, there are all kinds of sex workers with all kinds of reasons behind why they do their work, whether they're supporting their families, getting through college, or just making cash on the side. No matter their reasoning, they have a right to continue working safely. Their motives and motivations do not matter. They do not concern anyone else because they do not harm anyone else. As women, we have tried so hard for so many years to gain the right to have the freedom to do what we want with our own bodies, yet in 2020, we are still being criminalized, marginalized, and shamed for selling the pleasure of our company. Prostitution needs to be legalized and validated as an acceptable form of income and pleasure for the American people. Continuing to deprive the nation of this right leads to many dangers for sex workers due to a lack of much-needed government protection. This is an issue of human rights and should have a place in women's rights movements and human rights movements all across America. I want you all to understand that when I've said women today, I am not only talking about the commonly represented straight white sex worker. This term includes all demographics of women, including the heavily affected and commonly underrepresented women in the industry, specifically trans women and women of color, just like Nikki Enriquez. I want the words I spoke today to influence all of you to go out and advocate and fight for sexual freedom and the safety, protection, and respect of women everywhere. Thank you.